I've been traveling the world, visiting schools all over the world, doing Jaliyah. Now, it would be very easy for me to stand up here and just explain to you what Jaliyah is, which works for the narrative learners, right? But if I give you an experience, it will be more memorable. So I'm going to ask a favor. There are a couple things I need. I'm going to be navigating this room and walking around. No matter where I walk in this room, I need to be able to make eye contact with another human being. Never ever should I look in any direction and I do not have eye contact with another human being. Because, listen carefully, when I was studying this craft in Africa, one of the things I learned was the elders taught me that when people offer you their eyes when you're speaking, they are no longer only listening to you with their ears, they're listening to you with their hearts. So if I look in any direction and I have eye contact, it is comforting to me. The second thing is this. Sometimes I'm going to be talking, I might be singing, telling a story. I don't know what we're going to do yet. I have no idea what we're going to do yet. Because in the craft of Jaliyah, you do not walk in with a script. The eyes of the people dictate what will be done, what stories will be told, what music will be played. And as a griot, that's what you study. You study to give the people what it is their eyes tell you what they see. There were 4 oxen. And it seemed like every so often these 2 lions would come and they would attack these 4 oxen. But the 4 oxen, they would put their tails together and they would be tail to tail, all 4 of them. And when they were tail to tail, no matter which angle the two lions came from, they were not able to get them because no matter what angle the lions came at, they would be met with horns. Well, this went on for a long time. And eventually, the 4 oxen started having problems with one another. They started arguing. They started having debates. And before you knew it, they separated. And one went off to one part of the pasture because, well, he got sick of the other 3. And another one went off to another section of the pasture because, well, she got sick of the other 3. Because every time they came together, they began to argue. But once they separated, they lost their strength. And the 2 lions were able to do what it was that they had come to do. Give me back what I give you. In life, there's a very simple thing called reciprocity. When someone gives to you, you have a responsibility to give back. If you are not giving back when someone gives to you, you are taking. We do not want to be the type of people in the world who only know how to take. So in this moment, here's what typically happens. Some of you are sitting there going, I can't sing. Oh, I'm not a singer. I want you to embrace something that is very unique about other cultures, specifically this culture where I learned this craft of Jaliyah. If you have a voice, you sing. If you have a heart that beats to a rhythm, you dance. Nobody cares what your singing sounds like. Nobody cares what your dancing looks like. The most important thing is that you do it. Now, I want you to understand something about this craft. I have no story yet. There is no story in my mind that I'm ready to tell you. Once we start with the music, and once I look in your eyes, and once we're singing, this is the craft. The stories come. They come. And I've been doing this for over 30 years, and I have never not had a story appropriate for the moment. So listen very, very carefully. Give me back what I give you. Yeah, te kumala. Come on, I want to hear it. Yeah, te kumala. Manyima kuala te kumala, nisirin kuala lungo, inala punyo kuja wola lungo le te kumala. Yeah, te kumala. Come on, I want to hear it. Yeah, te kumala. Kabiring papa nata jang, te lula fe to ja wolu jagana, te kumala. Kabiring papa nata jang, te lula jani ko ja wolu jagana. Manye makula lungo ma, te kumala, ni siring kula lungo, inala bunyo ku ja wolu lungo le, te kumala. Iya te kumala. Yeah, there we go. Iya te kumala. There we go. Kabiring papa nata jang, te lula fe to ja wolu jagana, te kumala. Kabiring papa nata jang, te lula jani ko ja wolu jagana. One more. Iya te kumala. Iya te kumala. There was once a king who had 2 servants. These 2 servants followed him night and day and night. There was never a time where this king was not without one of these 2 servants. But he tired of this, and he decided he would get rid of one of the servants and keep the other. But he didn't know which one to get rid of, and he didn't know which one to keep. So the king called the 2 servants into his great chamber. He devised a plan, a test that he would give them. And depending on how they passed this test would depend on which one he would keep and which one he would get rid of. So the 2 servants are in the room. Batio bati. One servant is sitting on this side, the other on this side. The king is sitting on his throne, and he looks at the 2 servants and he says, I have a very simple question I want you to answer. He says, I have a new plan on how to govern the people, and I want to know what you think of this new plan. So the king turns to the servant on this side and he says, what do you think of this plan after explaining? And the servant on this side, he looks at the king and he says, oh, your highness, it is a brilliant plan. I have never heard such wisdom come from anyone. The plan shows how intelligent you truly are, your highness. What you are putting forth as a plan is going to benefit all of the people of the realm. And then the king turns to the servant who's on this side and he says, you've heard my plan. Now tell me, what do you think? And the servant on this side, he looks at the king and without hesitation, he looks at the king and he says, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. He said, you, a ruler of people, speak with such ignorance. The plan you are putting forth is only going to cause harm. You cannot enact that plan. Needless to say, the king got rid of one and kept the other. Bati. So let's say flowery, sugary, sweet words, brutal honesty. Raise your hand if the king got rid of this guy. Okay, hands down. Raise your hand if you think the king got rid of this guy. Okay, bati. Okay, people, come on. We're not kids anymore, all right? We're not kids anymore. Think of your lived experience. Your lived experience is your wisdom. How many of you have ever had a friend or a relative say to you, I want you to tell me the truth? And you're like, okay. Raise your hands if you have had drama following telling the truth to this friend that you told the truth. Raise them high, because I'm in here too. Come on, people. Hands down. The king got rid of this one. The king got rid of this one. But not only did he keep the one with the flowery, sugary, sweet words, but he made him wealthy. He gave him land, cattle. He made him so wealthy that that servant became wealthier than many of the nobles of the land. Batio bati. Batio bati. And after many years of serving the king and becoming wealthy, one day that servant is in his home and he's thinking, whatever happened to that other guy I was in that room with so many years ago? So he decides to search him out and find him. And it takes him a while, but he finds him. And when he finds him, when he finds that other brutally honest servant living in an old, torn down shack. It's not even a complete room. The walls are leaning, there are holes in the walls, there are holes in the roof. And he's sitting there on a dirt floor, eating from a bowl of very meager soup. The other guy is standing in the doorway, dressed impeccably. And he looks and he says, "Look at what has become of you, dressed there in rags, seated on a dirt floor." And he tells him, if you had learned to obey a king, you would not have to sit there eating such meager soup. And the other man looks up from his bowl that he's eating from, and he looks and he says, "No, my friend, you have it wrong." He says, if you had learned to eat meager soup, you would not have to obey a king. I want you to follow what you feel this time. No clapping. I want you to immerse yourself in the experience. I want you to be in your own head as we fade this out. You don't have to clap. You just have to feel. Yes, my friend.
So obviously others have left a legacy on your life.
Yes.
And it is your calling to leave a legacy on other people's lives, your legacy.
Yes.
So 100 years from now, when science has failed us and we're no longer here, and all that's left is the soundtrack of your life, what is that called?
Y'all are having me question the wisdom of doing this in these groups. Okay. There's something that comes to mind. I have to figure out how to translate it into English. Why did you do that to me, man? We know each other. See, we know each other, right? It's always your people who do this to you, right? The soundtrack. I remember King said, a drum major for justice. You remember that quote when he said, I want to be a... King said, he was asked a similar question. And Martin Luther King Jr. said, I want people to have known me as a drum major for justice. I think if I have to define a legacy, seriously, what I want it to be is someone who is able to open people's hearts. I'm going to keep it that simple. Because of whatever pain I may have experienced, and I'm not unique, every individual in this room has gone through something to be here. When I told you, when I come in here, I make assumptions. No one got here to this place in this room without suffering something, right? This is something that is a very unifying thing when you make that assumption about other human beings. So if I can open hearts or affect hearts, then I would have lived the life that I feel like I was meant to live. Okay, there will be no more questions today. Don't only listen to the music with your ears. Employ your hearts. Because when you listen with your hearts, this is how you understand not only the world that you live in, but the people you share it with as well. Inyate jaliyate nakaledi bi jaliyate korobo gajele ke ninke talike badi onaye yo kalam ambe asinana ambe asinana ambe asinana Bemba jali musanin jalekelu ambia sinana. Listen carefully. Bula bula chulula ibola bula para jaluma ambia sinana kumbemba jali musanin jalekelu ambia sinana. Okay, after me, reciprocity. Yeah, Jalia. Come on, I want to feel it. Alaleka Jalia da. A little stronger. You can deliver. Yeah, Jalia. Yeah, Jalia. Alaleka Jalia da. Yes, ambia sinana. Kumbemba jali musanin jalekelu ambia sinana. There were once these two brothers, and as they were growing up, they were always at odds, these two brothers. There wasn't a day that went by where there wasn't some form of sibling rivalry. They argued, they fought. And as they got older, nothing changed. When they became men, they each had farms. There was a stream, a small stream that separated their farms. One brother lived on one side, the younger brother, and the older brother lived on the other side. But it seemed whenever they got together, there was some argument that they had. Yeah, Jalia. Yeah, Jalia. Yes. Alaleka Jalia da. One day, the younger brother was at the home of the older brother, and they were arguing, as usual. And the older brother, he looks at the younger brother, he says to him, he says, look, we are both adults. We have been doing this all of our lives. I am tired of arguing with you. It is obvious that we, even though related by blood, are not meant to be connected, to be with one another. So the older brother, the older brother looks at the younger brother and he says, please leave my home, because from this day forward, I no longer consider you my brother. The younger brother, he looks at the older brother and he says, I'm leaving, but there's something I want you to understand. I no longer consider you my brother. And he leaves. Bati. Yeah, Jalia. Alaleka Jalia da. Ambia sinana. Kumbemba jali musanin jalekelu ambia sinana. So now, the older brother's in his home, it's quiet, when he hears a knock at the door. He opens the door, and there's an old man standing there with a toolbox. The older brother is fresh from arguing with his younger brother, so he looks at the old man and he says, why are you here? What do you want? And the old man says, I'm a carpenter, and I go around looking for work, and I'm looking for work. Do you have any work for me? And the older brother stands there for a minute and he thinks, idea. Bati. He gets an idea. He tells the old man, in my barn, there's a lot of wood, lumber. He tells him, I want you to go to my barn and I want you to build me along the stream. I want you to build me a wall so high that I never have to look at the home or the farm that's on the other side ever again. Bati. The old man says, if I can ask, who lives in the home on the other side of the stream? And the older brother says, someone I once considered a brother, but no longer. And the old man says, yes, I can build what you need. And then the older brother explains that he has to leave. He'll be gone into town for a little while. And when he comes back, he would like the wall built. Bati. And he leaves. The older brother is gone for some hours. And after hours of being in town and returning, when he returns, yeah, Jalia, alaleka Jaliada, ambia sinana, kumbembajali, muzaninjalekelu, ambia sinana. When the older brother returns, he's upset because the old man did not take his lumber and build the wall that he asked for. Instead of building a wall, the old man built a bridge over the stream. The older brother goes to the old carpenter and he says, I didn't tell you to build a bridge. I told you I wanted a wall. And he begins to castigate the old man. He begins to berate him. And he's telling him, I'm not going to pay you for this. And as he's doing this, who should come running across the bridge from the other side? Who? The younger brother. He runs over and without saying a word, he goes directly to his older brother. He grabs him and he hugs him so tight. And with tears in his eyes, he begins to say, there was a reason why you were born first, why you are my elder. It is because you are much more wise. I thought we would never, ever be connected again, and you build a bridge. Even in your anger, you built a bridge to connect our two homes. He lets go of his older brother, turns around, and walks back across the bridge. Now the older brother is looking at the old man. And he says, look at what you've just done. You've performed a miracle for my family. I've never had this happen. My younger brother has never treated me this way. Bati. And he tells the old man, you never have to go anywhere else. I'm well known in these parts. You stay here. I will find you all of the work that you need. And the old man says, no, I'm sorry. I cannot stay. And the older brother says, but why not? I am offering you all the work you need here. You don't have to travel or go great distances any longer. And the old man says, yes, I do. Because there are so many more bridges that need building. Bati. Yeah, Jalia. Alaleka Jaliada. Now give me a whisper. Yeah, Jalia. Alaleka Jaliada. Okay, my bridge builders, let's talk. Vati. I want you, because I could see that many of you weren't taking this as a simple form of entertainment. I could see in your eyes what you were doing. Some of you are processing, some of you are dissecting. You see what I do with our youth. You see what I do with our young scholars. Now, here's what I need. Vati. Here's what I need. Just be honest with me. How many of you, at the end of that, didn't feel like clapping? You clap because in our culture it's appropriate and this is what we do in our society, but how many of you really considered not clapping? Raise your hands. Raise them high, people. How many times do we tell our students, okay, hands down. How many of you, at the end of the song, the song is fading out, how many of you felt very calm? Raise your hands. Oh, wow. Okay. How many of you at the end were contemplating the story? Okay. Traditionally, there is no clapping. When I go into classrooms, that's one of the things I tell students, you're not going to clap. Because when you reach that place of peace, right? The griot's job is to transport you to that place of peace. And when the griot transports you to that place of peace, that's where true learning occurs. That's when we are open and receptive in that moment of peace. That's when it happens. And bati. Listen, we could learn so much more from other cultures that economically look impoverished, right? But they have such depth and understanding of human nature and human beings that if we didn't look at the external, how they dress, what they wear, if we didn't look at the externals, we could learn so much from other cultures. When you are in that space, you are receptive. Among many griots in villages, they have these meeting places that are no higher than this. And then they put chairs in it that are this tall. And it was the strangest thing I had ever seen in my life, because everyone who came to meet to make decisions about the village, they had to sit in these little places with rooftops this high. So everyone is in there and they're scrunched down and they're talking amongst each other. And okay, I was born here. I wasn't born there, and I did not understand what was going on. Like, there's no way they can be comfortable. And one of my elders said, these are the people responsible for making decisions of the people of the village. They should not be comfortable. And they explained to me the roof is low because if anyone gets angry, the first thing an angry human being does is stand up. Well, if they're angry, they cannot stand. The reason why there is not much space is because when you put human beings close to one another, they share an energy. There is such wisdom in these other cultures. And I wish, I wish we could take what they have and infuse it into our world just as much. And that's been my job for the past 30-something years. 800. So this song is called Kera. Listen with your hearts. Bati, oh, bati. Fanta che ne libero, Fanta ma che ne libero, Fanta che ne libero, Fanta ma che ne libero, Te ya che le tenne, la purugia la sola, baraka, baraka. Te ya che le tenne, già la purugia la sola, baraka, baraka. Chung sola, guayo ala la fama que quera. Ini sogama, ini wurura. Jalebe kumate ala le no, fina be kumate ala le no. Fimbe jalia be bulu kulum, to fimbe jalia be bulu kulum, to imawo bila wala. Bila wala, bila wala. Sano jo sera le la mama, Sano jo sera le la papa, Sano jo sera le la gobe na tunale. Did you hear it? Listen one more time, listen. Gobe na tunale. You hear it? Sing it with me. Gobe na tunale. I'm gonna hear a little strength. Let me feel it. Here we go. In rhythm. Let's keep it going with me in rhythm. Don't stop. Keep it in rhythm. Keep it going without me in rhythm. Let me hear you. Yeah, keep it going. Don't stop. I'll tell you what the words mean if you can keep that going. Everything in its own time. It's a warning for us never to rush, never to be in a hurry. To be more understanding of one another, to slow it down. When you agree to walk with a child, you walk slowly. Now lower. Each one we're gonna lower now. 3 more. The last one will make a whisper. 2 more. 3. Each one a little lower, lower. Now, a good whisper, strong. Thank you all for allowing me to present to you today. This has been incredible.